Sai Ram. In the last Parayanam session, I was mentioning about my joining the SV University PG Center at Anantapur and continuing my masters. I used to come during the weekends and spend my time in Prasanthi Nilayam and enjoy the wonderful opportunity of charging myself. Because had some very interesting and unique experiences. Since it was the first time that many students were staying in the hostel, and also because they were staying in the old hostel and there were not too many comforts, Swami used to go out of the way to give a lot of himself and his time to the new students. I remember that Swami told the warden, every Sunday I will come to the hostel, and to the second floor in the hostel, Swami would come and give a discourse, or he would interact with the students and students would give speeches and so on. I remember the first time it happened, Swami told the warden that he is coming to the hostel, and the warden rushed to the hostel and I was there nearby, and he called me and said, "Hey Ravikumar, lead the procession, Swami is coming." And I was taken aback because Swami is already in sight and there didn't seem to be any group of people. So I whispered to him asking, who else is there? He said, there's one more student who has just joined who knows Vedam. And so the other student joined me and we led Swami from the ground floor to the second floor. And so we started off, and I found that after Gananantva, that boy completely stopped. And I turned to him and tried to kickstart his Vedam, and it didn't happen. And he pleaded in ignorance and he said, "That's all I know of Vedam." And so I led Swami alone in that procession to the second floor of the old hostel. Of course, the next week something else happened. The next week, Kamavadani Garu himself came with Swami, and he and I and one more boy who had been identified who knew Vedam, we led the procession. But Kamavadani Garu was very, very particular about the intonations. He used to tell us that every time you make a mistake, you are killing a cow, or you are getting the sin equivalent to killing a cow. And of course, we were killing cows by the localities, I think. The bovine population must have been getting reduced tremendously with our Vedam chanting. And Kamavadani Garu would stop every few steps and he wouldn't proceed till he corrected us. And behind Swami would keep telling, move forward, move forward. But Kamavadani Garu wanted to make the Vedic path straight. And that's why he would keep correcting us. This is one very interesting thing. The other beautiful memory I have of that visit of Swami to the old hostel was, this old hostel is of course towards the last part of the East Prasanthi, which abuts the Gopuram. And one of the days Swami said, this time let boys speak. You choose some boys and let them speak. And so there was one small boy who was called and trained to speak. And when Swami came to the hostel that week, Swami asked, is there anyone who is going to speak today? And the warden and the principal said, yes, Swami, there's a boy who's going to speak today, and pointed to a young boy who was in his 11th standard. And Swami called him forward to speak. He was all of 5 feet. That boy became very nervous, and for a few minutes there were no words coming from his lips. And then he suddenly looked at the principal and the warden and said, "Can I have some water to drink, please?" he said. And immediately and spontaneously Swami said yes, and took his silver glass containing water and held it to his lips to drink. After the boy had drunk half that water, he said thanks to Swami, and Swami kept the glass back. What was even more touching was when Swami starts his discourse, he always drinks some water. And Swami had, before starting his discourse, Swami took the same glass and drank the rest of the water. Even though one more glass of water was kept, Swami made it a point to take this glass of water and drink. That is Swami's compassion and love. So this was one beautiful experience I had at that time. I remember during the times when Swami would go to Brindavan, and I would have my holidays or vacation, and whenever I could make it to Brindavan, because it was not enough to go to Brindavan and come back if it was just a couple of days, and therefore if there was a fortnight of a holiday or something, I would go. One of those trips to Bangalore taught me a beautiful lesson. Swami says in the Upanishadic form of teaching, the Guru asks questions and makes the student come up with the answer himself. He says this was a technique of teaching in the olden days, and I experienced this in a very beautiful way. One day I was standing outside the bungalow in Brindavan, and as Swami was coming down, I was looking through a window. Suddenly Swami called me inside, and there were a group of elders who looked like professors from some other university who had come. And Swami asked me, boy, what's your name? From that itself I could make out that Swami wanted was the target audience was someone else. So I said, Swami, my name is Ravikumar. What are you studying? Swami, I am doing my master's in chemistry. Where are you studying? Swami said, Swami, I am studying in Anantapur, SV University PG Center. Then Swami said, why did you come here? Do you have vacations? He asked. Yes, Swami. Then why did you come here? Then I said, Swami, I came here to have your darshan. Swami said, what do you get by having my darshan? I said, Swami, I get a lot of bliss by having your darshan. Swami said, is it happiness or bliss? And I said, Swami, it is bliss. What is the difference between happiness and bliss? He asked me. And I came up with this answer, which today I know that it was not from my intellectual part of my personality. I am sure it must be Swami answering from my heart. Because I said, Swami, happiness is something which is short-lived, and bliss is something which is permanent. Happiness turns into misery with time, whereas bliss continues to be bliss forever. So he said, how is this? I said, Swami, I have learned this from your discourse only. When a child is born, the parents distribute sweets, and everyone is so happy. When the same individual becomes old, or for whatever reason comes to the end of his life, passes away, everyone is in mourning. Birth gave rise to joy, but the same life at the other end gave rise to misery. And then I said, Swami, if today Swami gives me a sweet, I'll enjoy it. I'll get a lot of happiness. And at a future time, let us say I am marooned in some place far away where I don't even have food to eat. And then I think of this time when I ate this sweet, and I will feel miserable because I don't even have food to eat. And this something which gave me so much happiness, it was the sweet I ate. It was not the one which Swami gave instantly. The sweet which I ate that gave me so much happiness now gives me so much misery. So happiness turns into misery over time. Whereas Swami has now called me and spoken to me. This was incidentally in the year 1979. And I said, Swami, many, many years later, decades later, when I think of this moment when you called me and spoke to me, I feel even more grateful, even more blissful that Swami had time. Swami was so sweet, so kind to me and called me and spoke to me. So the bliss which I am experiencing today will only get multiplied as time passes. It's not the same with happiness. Happiness diminishes with time or even goes negative. Swami was, of course, extremely happy, and I knew that it could not have been from my brain. I knew it was definitely Swami's way of getting the answer out of me. And so this was one very beautiful experience I had. The other experience which I had, I don't remember if I have mentioned it in any of the Parayanam sessions. It was during another visit of mine to Brindavan. And this time too, there were a few experts standing there. I didn't know that they were on their way to Prasanthi Nilayam. The Prasanthi Nilayam college building was under construction. It had been completed. And Swami called me and said, what are you studying? I said, Swami, I am doing my master's in chemistry. So Swami asked, what does chemistry teach? Or what does chemistry study? And I mentioned the usual textbook definition. Swami was not happy with this. Swami said, it's not like that. Look, at the core of the earth, under the high pressure, the center of the earth, all the matter is in the form of liquid. And study of this liquid is rasayan, chemistry. As this liquid comes to the surface of earth, it gets solidified. And study of this is physics. On this matter, plants start growing. And study of these plants is botany. And on these plants, insects come to feed and to settle. And study of this is zoology. And he said, because every liquid needs a container, at the center of all this, at the core of all this, is God Himself. So Vaisaha. He is the one who is the container for all this. Because I was very thrilled that chemistry was so close to divinity. But it was only later I realized that all those people who were there were actually on their way to Patti to decide the layout of the various departments. And it is this which gave them a clue, because when they went to Prasanthi Nilayam, they put chemistry in the ground floor, physics in the first floor, and the biosciences in the second floor, as it exists even to this day. I will stop with this for this session. We'll continue in the next session. Sai Ram.